Good morning. It's Saturday, August 6th. And yesterday I was listening to the news on the radio while I was having breakfast. And I was astounded by the number of automobile accidents that were taking place in the last couple of days. And the number of deaths that occurred during these automobile accidents. So I said to myself, with all of this going on, with all these people dying in auto accidents, how does that compare with the gun violence in this country? And one must recognize when we're looking into these statistics that guns are the only consumer product out there that is not regulated in any way, shape, or form. If you look closely at automobiles, there is an organization, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is a federal government agency. And its job as part of the Department of Transportation, is to save lives and prevent injuries and reduce vehicle-related crashes. And they investigate every major crash in this country to make sure that they understand how it happened and why it happened. And they would look at the vehicles to ensure that those vehicles were really in good shape. And it wasn't a mechanical failure, but probably the failure of the driver. And so that is much different than the world of guns. You have to have a license. You have to have insurance. You have to do many things in order to drive an automobile. And I believe that all of those regulations contribute to the relative safety of automobiles, considering that I am sure that there is many more time spent on the road in automobiles than there are with people packing guns and wandering around the streets. And that's true. So even with the difference in volume between automobile driving and gun violence is significant, gun violence is still killing more people in this country than auto accidents. But not like by much. The difference is 45,000 by gun and 42,000 by automobile. Now, in the gun violence, that includes suicide, accidental shootings, and of course, mass murder. In 2020, gun deaths were higher in 34 states and the District of Columbia as opposed to automobile deaths. So in the 15 states that had higher auto deaths than gun deaths, you would think that that was because they had stricter gun regulations in those states. Well, that was true if you looked at New York and you looked at California. But it wasn't true in North Carolina, or in Florida, or in South Dakota. So the relationship between gun control and auto deaths is not determined by stricter regulations in one area and lesser regulation in another area. One reason guns might outnumber automobiles and trucks, etc., let's call them motor vehicles, in the number of deaths, is that guns in this country outnumber the number of vehicles by a significant amount. There are roughly 290 million motor vehicles registered in the United States. And there are 360 million guns in the United States. And I'm not sure that that number isn't low, because I don't know how many guns are not registered. And then we have guns that are manufactured from designs that are presented to people on the internet. Plastic weapons that are as lethal as any manufactured gun. So the number of weapons outnumbers the number of vehicles. And maybe that's why the statistics are what they are. Automobiles were manufactured and put on the roads in this country for the first time in 1913. And since then, 2.5 million people have died in auto accidents. That is more by 1.5 million than all the people in the U.S. who have died in wars. How about that? And gun violence has outnumbered automobiles. So between guns and auto accidents, we have killed more of our people than the world wars and the other conflicts that we have been engaged in. That's quite a sad statistic when you step back and think about it. And this from one of the most advanced nations in the world. And maybe it's time for some people who are running this country to get a look at these statistics and decide this can't continue. But we in this country protect our guns. We love our cars also. And we're not going to do much about this because other things seem to be more important. And right now in my mind, this is a very important subject. But the one thing that stands in its way is the way we believe in our Constitution and the rights that we think everybody is entitled to. Well, what about the right to life? What about that? So I leave you with those thoughts this morning. See you in the morning. Bye.